Anyway, news and sport coming up. However, there's a reissue which I think you want to talk about
Yeah,
here.
so when we were talking about Les Miserables last week, I said obviously it owes a debt to La Haine, the Mathieu Kassovitz film, which is 25 years old, which makes me feel like the oldest person on the planet. Um, it's now getting a 4K reissue, so it's been restored. It's going to be in cinemas. Then afterwards, you'll be able to watch it in the home later on. So the story is it's three friends from diverse cultural backgrounds in the banlieue, in the shadow of rioting and police violence. And what's really fascinating about it is this. I hadn't watched it for a long time. I remember seeing it when it came out, and I remember being really struck by it. And I went back and watched it because the 25th anniversary was coming up. And when it first came out, we all talked about it. It's incredibly gritty, incredibly powerful, incredibly tough. It was kind of at the same time as there was a lot of kind of confrontational stuff happening in cinema just before Train Spotting, I think. And, there'd been some cases of violent movies that had made the headlines. And somehow La Haine got caught up in all that, the title, which means hate or hatred. Watching it again, it's a much gentler, more contemplative film than I remembered. Firstly, the interaction between the three leads there is a hint of Stranger Than Paradise, the Jim Jarmusch film in there. There is this kind of dry comedy, but also this great sense of affection. And one of the things that does is it makes the sort of move towards tragedy all the more effective. Second thing is, I remember thinking, or for ages and ages, that there's an awful lot of kind of like cutting edge hip hop in the film, and that the music is well, there is, but there's much less of it in the film than I remember. There's one key sequence which kind of, the whole film has a kind of overarching structure which recalls Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. And there is a sequence in which there's a guy playing records out of a window, and then the camera goes over the estate. You get this kind of God's eye view, and there's this sort of very prominent rap song. But actually, weirdly enough, a lot of the film plays out to silence, and it's the spaces, and it's the things that aren't said, and it's the oral spaces that aren't filled that actually end up speaking the loudest. The performances are great. The cinematography, I remember the cinematography as being gritty, but funnily enough, you see it now and it looks beautiful. It looks really pristine, really great. Partly, I suppose this is to do with the restoration, but partly it's just because the world has changed so much since the film came out. Also, ironically, the world has stayed the same. It was an interview recently in which they were talking about, now may be the time that we need La Haine 2. Now may be the time that we need a sequel, because it's dealing with issues which are still fiercely contemporary. So watching it again was really fascinating. I thought it was terrific, but it was not the movie that I remembered. I really liked the movie that I remembered, and I really loved the movie that I'm seeing now. And it was one of those things about the way in which time changes something in your mind. Also, the time that I saw La Haine, it looked like one kind of film. Now it looks like another kind of film. It's so prophetic. It's so influential. It absolutely, if you see Les Miserables, not that one, and you're struck by it, then watch La Haine. It's a really powerful piece of cinema. And as I said, the title, may mean hate or hatred, but there is so much love. There is so much affection in it. That's the thing that makes it powerful. And I watched it with a younger person who, at the end of it, was just completely silent. And I thought, oh, did they not like it? That's one of the best films I've ever seen. And I think it really is remarkable. If you've seen it before, see it again, because it's really not the film that you remember. It's the same film, but as I said, the world has changed. Plus ça change, but also, what's that phrase? The more things change, the more things stay the same. And that is the phrase that is the one that I just said. But how do they say it in French? I can't remember. But anyway, La Haine, really, really well worth seeing again. What a remarkable piece of cinema that is.
Doesn't it finish la même chose?
Yes, that's it. Exactly.
That's the one.
You could tell me, because you gave me la même chose.
The même chose. That's very good. What are you looking at?